He protected the alien child. Now the queen refuses to let him go. But nothing had prepared him for Curran, the small, strange creature he found hidden among the roots of the glowing trees in the forest of Eldara Prime. The planet Eldara was beautiful in a way that almost hurt the eyes. The skies shimmered with streaks of green and violet, and the air carried a faint hum that seemed almost alive. Birds, if they could be called that, fluttered with wings that looked like transparent glass. Trees grew taller than buildings on Earth, their trunks twisting into shapes that seemed impossible. Elias had spent the first week of his research marveling at it all. He had cataloged the plants, the animals, and even the soft, pulsing light that came from certain flowers at night. He was a careful observer, used to noticing patterns and understanding the world from its smallest details. But nothing in his careful observation had prepared him for the sound he heard in the middle of the forest that day. It was soft, almost like the whisper of a child calling for help. Elias followed the sound, moving slowly between the trees. The air shimmered with light, and the forest floor glowed faintly beneath his feet. That's when he saw it, a small figure crouched behind a cluster of glowing ferns. The creature was no taller than a human child, but its skin shimmered with a silver-blue hue. Its eyes were large and round, glowing faintly with an intelligent curiosity that made Elias' heart skip a beat. It looked frightened, but not weak. There was a sharpness to its gaze, a sense that it understood more than its size suggested. Elias crouched down slowly, keeping his hands visible so as not to frighten it. "Hello," he said softly. "I won't hurt you. My name is Elias. Can you tell me your name?" The creature tilted its head, its glowing eyes studying him. For a moment it said nothing. Then in a voice that sounded like a combination of humming and soft syllables, it spoke. "Curran, Curran," Elias repeated, smiling gently. "I'm going to help you." Curran's eyes widened and it took a cautious step forward. Elias could see the small scars on its arms and legs, evidence of a recent struggle. His chest tightened. Somehow this tiny being had survived alone in this vast, alien forest. He knew he could not leave it. The first challenge was keeping Curran safe. The forest, as beautiful as it was full of curious and watchful creatures. Some were gentle, but others were unpredictable. Elias had no weapon, no shield, only his knowledge and his wits. He had to find a place where Curran could stay hidden and fast. He led Curran to a small cave hidden beneath the roots of a massive tree. The entrance was narrow and covered with vines, and inside the cave was warm and dry. Curran explored it carefully, sniffing the air and tapping the walls with its small hands. Elias set down his backpack and pulled out some of the dried food he had brought for his research trip. He offered it to Curran, who stared at it suspiciously. After a long pause, it accepted a small piece and ate it quickly. Elias sat back, watching it carefully. He realized that protecting Curran would not just be about food and shelter. It would be about trust. He had to earn it. He began to speak softly, telling Curran about himself, about Earth, and about the many places he had visited. At first, Curran stayed silent, listening carefully. But over the next few hours, it began to hum and make small gestures, trying to communicate. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, Elias had learned something remarkable. Curran was not just a helpless child. It was clever, curious, and full of courage. It had survived in the forest alone, using its wits and instincts. Elias realized that this little being was extraordinary, and he felt a deep sense of responsibility. That night he made a simple bed of leaves and soft moss for Curran inside the cave. He watched as it curled up and closed its glowing eyes. For the first time, he felt a sense of calm. Curran was safe, for now. The next morning, Elias faced a new challenge. He needed to find out more about Curran's origins. There were signs in the forest, symbols carved into stones, tracks that led to hidden clearings, and occasional remnants of alien technology. Elias followed them carefully, always keeping Curran close. The little creature often pointed with a tiny finger or hummed, guiding him without words. By midday, Elias discovered something that made his heart race. In a clearing, partially hidden by giant ferns, lay a small, crystalline device. It glowed softly, pulsating with a rhythm that seemed alive. Curran immediately ran to it, pressing its small hands against the surface. The device responded, projecting a holographic image into the air. It showed a figure, tall, regal, and adorned in robes that shimmered with color. Elias recognized immediately that this must be Curran's parent. The figure in the projection looked directly at him, or at least it seemed to. And in a voice that resonated in the clearing, it said, "Who has taken care of my child?" Elias froze. He had no idea how to respond. He could not explain everything, and yet he could not lie. "I am Elias," he said softly. "I found Curran alone and hurt. I have only tried to help." The image paused, then slowly nodded. "You are brave," the figure said, "and your kindness has not gone unnoticed. But beware, protecting a child of my people is a serious responsibility. You cannot simply return it. You must learn, guide, and understand." Elias' mind raced. He had wanted to study the planet and its life forms, but now he realized that he was part of something much larger. This was no ordinary research mission. He had become the protector of a being that could shape the future of a civilization. Over the following days, Elias and Curran moved carefully through the forest, avoiding the attention of other aliens. Curran began to trust him more fully, even letting Elias hold its small hand. Elias taught Curran about Earth in small ways, through stories, sketches, and simple games. In return, Curran taught Elias about its world, the language of humming, the secrets of plants that glowed in the dark, and the ways the wind could carry messages across the forest. One evening, as they rested under a tree with leaves that shimmered like glass, Elias realized something profound. Humanity had always dreamed of reaching the stars, of finding life beyond Earth. But he had never imagined that the true power of humans was not in machines, weapons, or technology. It was in empathy, creativity, and patience. By caring for Curran, he was showing what humanity could offer: understanding, protection, and hope. But even as he thought this, Elias knew challenges were coming. The alien queen, Curran's parent, would surely notice the child's absence. Other beings in the forest might be watching. Every decision he made could have consequences far beyond the cave or even the planet. He had to be clever, cautious, and compassionate in equal measure. As night fell, Elias looked at Curran sleeping peacefully, its small chest rising and falling. He felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. This little alien child, lost and afraid, had entrusted him with something far greater than life itself, and he would not fail. The hum of the forest wrapped around them like a blanket, and Elias whispered softly, "I will protect you, Curran, no matter what." For the first time in his life, he understood the meaning of true responsibility and the remarkable strength that could come from compassion. Humanity's finest qualities were not in weapons or power. They were in the quiet, unshakable courage to care for another being, no matter how small, how different, or how fragile. And as the stars of Eldara Prime shone brightly above, Elias knew this was only the beginning. The morning sun spilled over the forest of Eldara Prime, bathing the tall, twisting trees in soft green and violet light. Birds or creatures that resembled them fluttered above, their wings glinting like fragile glass. Elias Varn stirred awake on his small bed of moss and leaves, careful not to disturb Curran, who was still curled up beside him. The child's small, glowing form radiated a soft warmth, like a gentle light in the morning. Elias watched for a moment. He had always known that caring for another being would change him, but he had not expected the depth of connection that had grown overnight. Curran was more than a child to protect. It was a teacher, a mirror, and a companion. And yet there was still so much he did not understand about this alien world. "Curran," he whispered softly, "it's time to wake up. There's something I want to show you today." Curran stirred, blinking its large, glowing eyes. It tilted its head in curiosity, as if sensing that something important was coming. Elias reached out gently, and Curran placed its small hand in his. The simple gesture filled Elias with warmth. In that moment, he realized the bond between them had grown stronger than words. After a small breakfast of edible fruits and seeds from the forest, Elias led Curran deeper into the woods. He had noticed unusual tracks and patterns in the ground over the past few days, patterns that seemed intentional, as if someone had walked this way before. Elias wanted to understand them, to learn what secrets the forest might be hiding, and perhaps to learn more about Curran's people. As they walked, Curran began to hum softly, a melody that seemed to blend with the sounds of the forest. Elias listened carefully, trying to mimic the tones. Surprisingly, Curran responded, humming back with subtle variations, almost as if teaching him the language of sound. Over time, Elias realized that Curran was communicating not just words, but feelings, ideas, and even small images through its humming. By midday, they reached a small clearing where the sunlight fell in golden beams. Here, the forest seemed quieter, almost sacred. Curran ran ahead, tapping on certain plants which responded with faint pulses of light. Elias watched in fascination. It was as though Curran could talk to the forest itself. "Show me," Elias said gently. "Teach me." Curran's eyes brightened and it placed its hands on the ground. Slowly, shapes and patterns appeared in the soil, lines and symbols that glowed faintly. Elias knelt down, tracing the symbols carefully. They seemed like a kind of map or perhaps a message. With each symbol, Curran hummed a note. Elias copied the notes, trying to match the pitch. It was slow, careful work, but he felt a deep thrill in learning something entirely new. "You're clever," Elias said, smiling. "Do you know how amazing that is?" Curran tilted its head and hummed a low, soft sound that Elias interpreted as approval. For the first time, he felt that they were truly communicating on a shared level. The gap between human and alien was narrowing, bridged by patience, curiosity, and mutual respect. As the afternoon progressed, Elias decided to teach Curran something in return. He pulled out a small sketchbook and colored pencils from his bag. "I want to show you Earth," he said. "It's where I come from." Curran watched with wide eyes as Elias sketched mountains, oceans, forests, and cities. He drew people running, laughing, and working together. The little alien pointed at the drawings, humming in delight. When Elias drew a child flying a kite, Curran mimicked the motion with its tiny hands, making Elias laugh softly. "You understand play," he said. "That's wonderful. It means we can learn together." Hours passed, and as the sun began to set, Elias realized they had grown closer in a single day than many humans do in years. The bond between them was no longer just about protection. It was about trust, understanding, and friendship. Yet beneath the warmth of companionship, Elias could not ignore a growing unease. He knew that Curran's absence would eventually be noticed. The alien queen, Curran's parent, must have begun to search for her child. And even if she had not yet discovered Elias, others in the forest, intelligent beings that watched, listened, and recorded everything, might notice. Every step they took had to be careful, deliberate, and guided by understanding rather than fear. That evening, as they settled near a softly glowing stream, Curran began to hum a new melody. It was longer, more complex, and carried emotions Elias could barely name. He listened, closing his eyes and feeling the vibrations in the air. Slowly, he began to hum back. To his surprise, Curran's small face lit up. It reached for his hand, holding it gently as if saying, "You are learning. You belong here." For Elias, the moment was profound. Humanity had always sought to connect with the unknown, but this bond was beyond science or reason. It was pure understanding. By simply caring, observing, and responding with patience, he had earned the trust of a being from another world. And through that trust, he had opened a door to knowledge, friendship, and wonder that no textbook or research station could provide. Days passed, and Elias and Curran continued their quiet exploration of the forest. They discovered hidden groves where plants sang with the wind, stones that reflected not light but memories, and streams that carried colors no human eye had names for. Through it all, Curran's humming guided them, teaching Elias to see the world in new ways. One afternoon, as they rested on a hill overlooking a valley filled with towering trees, Elias noticed something unusual. A faint shimmer appeared near the far edge of the forest, almost like a mirage. Curran's eyes widened and it pointed toward the shimmer. Elias squinted, unsure of what he saw. Slowly, the shimmer grew clearer, a tall figure robed in soft light moving gracefully between the trees. Elias froze. Could it be? Curran stepped closer to him, its small hand gripping his arm. It hummed a note that Elias could feel more than hear. The message was clear. "This is important. Pay attention." The figure stopped, looking directly at them. Elias realized that this was no ordinary visitor. The way it moved, the calm confidence in its stance, suggested someone powerful, someone who commanded attention without words. He quickly realized that the alien queen herself had arrived, or at least, someone sent on her behalf. Elias' mind raced. How could he explain his actions? How could he show that his only intention had been to protect and care for Curran? And yet he felt no fear, only determination. He had acted with kindness and honesty, and that was something even the queen could not ignore. The figure stepped closer, and a soft voice echoed through the clearing. "Who has taken care of my child?" Elias straightened. "I am Elias," he said clearly. I found Curran alone in the forest and cared for them. I meant no harm, only protection. The voice paused, studying him, then slowly it spoke again. You have acted with courage and compassion, it said. But caring for a child of my people is a weighty responsibility. You must understand the world you have entered and the role you have chosen. Elias nodded. He could feel the weight of the moment, but also a strange sense of pride. Humanity had always believed in courage, kindness, and intelligence. Now, on this distant planet, he was living proof that those qualities were universal. As the day ended and the figure disappeared as quietly as it had arrived, Elias turned to Curran. The child hummed softly, leaning against him. Elias realized that their bond had grown even stronger. They were not just protector and protected. They were partners, learners, and friends navigating a world that was both beautiful and complex. That night, Elias lay awake, thinking about the future. He knew challenges were coming, and he understood that their quiet days in the forest were only the beginning. The Queen's presence signaled that Curran's life was far more important than he had realized. But he also knew that his humanity, patience, curiosity, and care was a power no one could take away. Curran, he whispered, holding the child's hand, we will face whatever comes together. You are not alone, and I will never stop protecting you. Curran hummed softly, a melody that seemed to say, I trust you. And in that shared understanding, Elias felt something extraordinary. The first true connection between human and alien, a fragile bond that might one day change the course of both their worlds. The stars of Eldera Prime glimmered above, casting soft light on the forest. And as Elias watched them, he knew one thing for certain. The journey with Curran had only just begun. The morning air of Eldera Prime was crisp, carrying a soft hum that vibrated through the forest. Elias awoke to find Curran already awake, its small eyes glimmering with curiosity. There was an unusual seriousness in the air today, a sense of expectation that Elias could not ignore. As he packed his modest supplies, he noticed a faint glow at the edge of the forest, a light that pulsed with a calm rhythm. Curran's small hand tugged at his sleeve, guiding him toward it. Elias followed, heart beating faster than usual. He had a feeling this was not just another discovery in the forest. As they reached the clearing, a sleek, shimmering path appeared before them. It was made of light, weaving gently through the trees, almost inviting them to follow. Curran hesitated, looking up at Elias with wide eyes as if seeking reassurance. Elias nodded. It's okay, let's see where it leads. They walked carefully along the glowing path, deeper into the forest than they had ever gone. The sounds of the forest, birds, hums, and soft rustling, seemed to fade, replaced by a quiet sense of anticipation. After some time, the path led to a structure that Elias could scarcely believe. It was a palace, but unlike any palace he had seen on Earth. It seemed to grow from the land itself. Its walls shimmered with a soft golden light, as if the palace were alive. Towers spiraled gracefully toward the sky, and bridges made of crystal connected terraces that floated above the forest floor. Birds or their equivalents flew freely through open spaces, and the air smelled faintly of flowers that glowed in soft pastel colors. Elias stopped in awe, holding Curran's small hand. This is incredible," he whispered. Curran's eyes sparkled in response, and it hummed softly as if sharing in his wonder. Before he could take another step, a figure appeared at the top of the grand staircase. The Queen. She was taller than any human, with skin that shimmered like liquid gold. Her robes flowed around her in soft, radiant waves, and her eyes, large and luminous, seemed to look directly into Elias' soul. "Elias Varn," the Queen said, her voice calm yet commanding. "You have taken care of Curran." There was no accusation in her tone, only observation. "You have acted beyond what many of my people would consider possible." Elias bowed slightly, unsure how to respond. "Your Majesty," he said carefully. I only wanted to protect Curran. The child was alone, afraid, and in need of care." The Queen descended the stairs slowly, her gaze never leaving him. "Your intentions are clear, and yet caring for the heir of my people is no simple task. You have entered a world far greater than yourself. Do you understand the weight of your actions?" Elias took a deep breath. "I believe I do, but I also believe that kindness, patience, and understanding can carry great weight. They are perhaps stronger than power or fear." The Queen paused, as though considering his words carefully. Then, with a small nod, she motioned for them to follow her. "Come. There is much you must see and much you must learn." Inside the palace, the halls glowed with soft light. The walls seemed alive, shifting gently, showing images of the planet, its people, and its history. Elias could hardly believe his eyes. Each room revealed a new wonder, plants that whispered messages through vibrations, pools of water that reflected memories, and murals that moved as though alive. Curran clung lightly to Elias' hand, its eyes wide in amazement. Elias smiled softly, squeezing the child's hand. "We'll explore together," he whispered. They were led to a large chamber at the center of the palace. The floor was made of crystal, reflecting the ceiling above, which shimmered with a galaxy of lights. Here the queen spoke again. "Elias, I have observed your actions. You have shown a unique quality, an ability to care without seeking reward, to understand without being asked. These are traits rare even among my people." Elias felt a mixture of pride and humility. "Thank you, your majesty. I only responded to the need I saw before me." The queen's eyes softened slightly. "Yes, and that is why I am curious. Your people, humans, possess qualities that we have not fully understood until now. Your courage, compassion, and ingenuity have brought hope in ways we could not predict." Elias nodded slowly. He understood that his humanity, his ability to think, feel, and care, was being recognized here as a form of strength. "I am honored," he said simply. The queen gestured toward a series of floating screens. Each screen showed images of Curran's world, from the tallest mountains to the smallest plants. "You must learn about our ways if you are to continue your care for Curran," she said. "You must understand our history, our culture, and the responsibilities that accompany the heir of our people." Over the next few hours, Elias absorbed information at a pace he had never experienced. The Queen's people were advanced, their civilization thousands of years older than humanity's. They valued thought, art, and connection above all else. Each piece of knowledge he gained added to his understanding of Curran and deepened his sense of responsibility. Curran, for its part, watched Elias intently. It hummed softly when he learned something quickly, almost as if encouraging him. At one point, it reached up and touched his arm lightly, a small gesture of support and trust. Elias realized then that their bond was stronger than ever. He was not just a protector, he was a guide, a friend, and a learner alongside Curran. As the evening drew near, the queen spoke again. "Elias, you have done well, but your journey is not yet complete. There will be challenges, choices, and moments when you must act not only for Curran, but for the understanding between our worlds. Are you prepared for this responsibility?" Elias took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. "I will do everything I can," he said firmly. "I will protect Curran and learn from your people. I will not fail." The queen's expression softened further. "Good. Then you shall remain here for a time under my observation. You will continue your guidance of Curran, and in return you will learn the ways of our people. Trust, patience, and understanding will be your greatest tools. You have already shown that you are capable of wielding them." Elias nodded, understanding that this was both a challenge and an honor. He would live among beings far older and wiser than himself, and yet he was not intimidated. He had learned that humanity's greatest strengths were not in power or strength, but in empathy, creativity, and moral courage. That night, as he lay in a small, soft chamber prepared for him, Curran curled beside him. The child hummed a soft melody that seemed to echo the palace itself, full of light, calm, and gentle rhythm. Elias held its small hand, feeling the steady pulse of life and trust. "You are learning," Curran hummed, almost as if speaking through song. "And I am learning from you," Elias replied. "Together we will face what comes next." The stars outside the palace glimmered softly through open walls. Elias felt a deep sense of purpose, unlike anything he had experienced on Earth. This was not just a journey to study another world. It was a journey to understand, protect, and grow. And in doing so, he would prove that humanity's qualities, curiosity, care, and courage, could shine even in the farthest corners of the universe. The following days were filled with learning. The queen herself observed Elias' interactions with Curran, occasionally offering guidance or insight. She did not command or demand. She simply presented knowledge, leaving it to Elias to understand, adapt, and respond. He taught Curran about Earth, its people, and its simple joys, while Curran taught him the subtle language of their world. Humming, gestures, and the ways emotions could be shared without words. One afternoon, as they walked along a terrace overlooking the glowing forest, Curran suddenly stopped and looked at Elias. Its eyes shimmered with a question. Elias knelt to its level. "What is it, Curran?" The child hummed softly, then pointed toward the horizon. Elias followed its gaze and saw a faint light far in the distance, a new shimmer unlike any he had seen. It was a reminder that while the palace was safe, the world outside still held mysteries and challenges. "You see it too," Elias said quietly. "We will discover it together. Nothing will stop us because we face it as partners." Curran hummed again, a sound full of trust and excitement. Elias realized that the child was not just learning from him, he was learning from Curran as well. Together, they were creating something extraordinary, a bond that transcended species, worlds, and even expectation. As night fell, Elias gazed at the stars of Eldara Prime, feeling a quiet determination settle in his heart. He had been summoned by the Queen, observed by an entire civilization, and tested in ways he had never imagined. And yet he had not faltered. Humanity's greatest qualities, empathy, patience, curiosity, and courage, had guided him. He smiled softly at Curran, who hummed a gentle melody beside him. "We are ready," he whispered. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." For the first time, Elias truly understood what it meant to be a bridge between worlds. Not with force, not with fear, but with understanding, care, and the simple, enduring power of human heart and mind. The journey had only begun. And already it promised to change everything. The next morning, the palace of Eldara Prime shimmered with the soft, golden light of dawn. Elias woke early, as always, to the gentle humming of Curran beside him. Today felt different. There was a sense of expectation in the air, a quiet tension that neither the child nor Elias could ignore. Curran's small hand tugged at his sleeve. Elias followed the child through the palace corridors, noting how alive the walls seemed. Colors shifted softly, and faint images of the forest outside floated across the surfaces, as if the building itself was watching them. At the center of the palace, the great hall waited, a space wide and open, filled with glowing terraces and softly floating lights. The queen stood at the far end, her posture calm yet commanding. Her golden skin shimmered as if reflecting the sun itself. When she saw Elias and Curran, she inclined her head gracefully. "Elias Varn," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the hall, "come forward. There is something important we must discuss." Elias stepped carefully, holding Curran's hand. The child hummed softly, leaning into his side for reassurance. Elias felt the weight of the moment. For days, he had been learning about this world and its people. Now he was about to learn how his role would extend far beyond simple protection. The queen gestured for them to sit on a set of cushions floating slightly above the floor. She remained standing, her presence filling the hall. "You have cared for Curran with patience, wisdom, and understanding," she began. "You have taught the child about your world, shared knowledge, and created a bond that is rare even among my people. For this you have my respect." Elias bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what I thought was right." The queen's eyes softened, yet there was still an unmistakable gravity in her tone. "And yet, the bond you have created, though honorable, has consequences. Curran is not just a child. The child is the heir of my people, the future of our civilization. To protect Curran is not only to care for one life, but to guide an entire society toward a hopeful future." Elias nodded, listening intently. "I understand. I will continue to guide Curran in the best way I can. I only wish to serve, not interfere." The queen's gaze sharpened, and she leaned slightly forward. "That is precisely why I cannot allow you to leave. Your knowledge, compassion, and approach to life are qualities that my people have not seen in such combination. You are not merely a guardian, you are a bridge between our world and yours. Your presence here is essential." Elias felt a mix of surprise and concern. "You mean I cannot return to Earth?" The queen shook her head gently. "Not yet. To leave now would risk losing the bond you have formed with Curran, and with it, the potential to influence the future in positive ways. You have proven that your people's qualities, curiosity, patience, empathy, can inspire even those who have lived for millennia. I need you here not as a prisoner, but as a partner." Elias exhaled slowly. He had anticipated challenges, but this was more than he expected, and yet, as he looked at Curran, he realized the child was not fearful. Curran hummed softly, leaning into his side, a sound full of encouragement and trust. Elias felt a wave of clarity. This was not a punishment, it was an honor. He met the queen's eyes. "I see," he said. "If my presence can help Curran and your people, then I will stay. I will not abandon either." The queen's lips curved into a faint, approving smile. Good, your decision is wise and your willingness reflects the qualities I admire. But understand this, your role will be challenging. You will need to teach, guide, and learn simultaneously. The future of Curran, and perhaps even of my people, may depend on your ability to act with integrity and understanding. Elias nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle comfortably on his shoulders. He had always sought purpose in his work, but this was beyond research. He was shaping the future of a civilization, not through force or power, but through care, guidance, and example. Curran hummed again, a soft melody that seemed to acknowledge Elias' thoughts. The child's eyes met his, wide and trusting. Elias squeezed its small hand. "We will do this together," he said softly. "No matter what comes, we face it as partners." The Queen observed this interaction closely, then spoke again. "Curran's education must extend beyond knowledge of our world. The child must learn about your world as well, about human thought, creativity, and problem-solving. You will teach Curran not through commands or expectations, but by example, by showing what humanity can offer." Elias thought of Earth, of the lessons humans had learned through history, science, and kindness. "I can do that," he said. "I will show Curran the strengths of my people, imagination, empathy, and the ability to think differently." The Queen nodded. "And in doing so, you will also teach my people, though indirectly. They will see that humanity's qualities are worthy of admiration. Your actions may inspire change in ways you cannot yet imagine." Elias felt a sense of humility and pride. He had traveled to this distant world to study it, to observe and record. Instead, he had become an integral part of its future, a living example of the potential within humanity. For the next several days, Elias began his new life in earnest. He and Curran spent hours exploring the palace and the surrounding lands. He taught the child about Earth, its forests, mountains, oceans, and cities. He showed Curran how humans solved problems creatively, how art and music could convey ideas, and how curiosity could lead to understanding. Curran responded with enthusiasm. It mimicked his sketches, hummed melodies of its own design, and experimented with small inventions using materials around the palace. Elias watched in awe as the child's mind grew, combining the logic and knowledge he provided with the natural abilities Curran possessed. The Queen observed from a distance, occasionally offering guidance. She did not interfere, but her presence reminded Elias of the stakes. Curran's growth was important not only for the child itself, but for the entire society. Each lesson Elias taught carried significance far beyond the palace walls. One afternoon, while walking along a terrace overlooking the glowing forest, Elias noticed Curran pausing frequently to study patterns in the leaves and light. The child hummed softly, tapping lightly on the terrace floor, tracing shapes that glowed faintly in response. "You're seeing the connections," Elias said, smiling. "You're understanding more than I could ever teach with words." Curran's small hand touched his arm gently, and Elias felt a deep sense of wonder. Humanity had always believed in learning, teaching, and sharing knowledge. Now he realized those qualities could resonate across worlds. Even in the alien rhythms of Eldara Prime, human curiosity and care could guide understanding. That evening, the Queen summoned Elias once more. She led him to a chamber filled with softly glowing screens, each displaying images of Curran's world, Earth, and the interactions between the two. "Observe," she said, her voice calm yet firm. "You have begun a journey that few humans could even imagine. Your actions, your guidance, and your patience are shaping the future. Do you understand the significance of what you are doing?" Elias nodded. "I do, Your Majesty, and I will continue to act with care, compassion, and integrity. I will not fail Curran or your people." The Queen's expression softened, and she touched one of the glowing screens which shimmered under her fingers. "Good. Curran is fortunate to have a guide such as you. And you are fortunate, Elias, to witness what is possible when understanding transcends fear and care replaces indifference." Elias felt a quiet pride. He had always believed in the potential of humanity, but now he saw it in action on a scale far beyond Earth. By caring for Curran, by teaching and learning, he was proving that empathy, creativity, and patience were forces that could influence entire worlds. As night fell over the palace, Elias and Curran sat together on a balcony, watching the stars of Eldara Prime shimmer above. The forest glowed softly below, alive with quiet movement. Curran hummed a gentle melody and Elias hummed back, matching its tone. In that simple harmony, he felt the strength of their partnership. "We will face what comes," he whispered. "Together, nothing can break our bond." Curran responded with a soft hum, full of trust, understanding, and encouragement. Elias realized that this was more than protection, it was connection, a bond that spanned species, worlds, and the limits of understanding. And as the night deepened, Elias understood the Queen's decision. She had refused to let him go not as a punishment, but as recognition of what he could offer. Through patience, curiosity, and care, humanity had shown its power in a way that words alone could never convey. The future was uncertain. Challenges lay ahead, but Elias felt ready. He would remain on Eldara Prime, guiding Curran, learning from the Queen and her people, and proving that the human heart and mind could illuminate even the farthest corners of the universe. And in the quiet hum of the palace, as the stars above reflected in Curran's glowing eyes, Elias knew one thing with certainty. This was only the beginning of an extraordinary journey. The palace of Eldara Prime glowed in the early morning light, soft golden beams reflecting off the crystalline terraces. Elias Varn stepped onto a balcony with Curran by his side. The forest below shimmered, alive with gentle colors and sounds, and Elias felt a deep sense of peace. He had been on this planet for weeks now, guiding Curran, learning from the Queen, and discovering the vast depth of the alien world. For Elias, life had changed in ways he could never have imagined. What began as a research mission had become a journey of purpose. He was no longer just an observer. He was a teacher, a protector, and a bridge between worlds. And as he looked at Curran, humming softly beside him, he understood the full weight of his new responsibility. "Curran," Elias said softly, "today we continue our lessons." The child's glowing eyes sparkled, and it hummed in response, a soft melody full of curiosity and excitement. Today was special, Elias knew. He had been preparing Curran for weeks to understand not just Earth, but humanity itself, the ways humans think, create, and connect. And Curran's eagerness reflected the progress they had made together. Inside the palace, the Queen observed quietly from her chambers. She had given Elias freedom to guide Curran, offering advice only when necessary. She trusted him, and through that trust, Elias felt a deep sense of responsibility and honor. Humanity's qualities, its curiosity, patience, and compassion, were now being shared with a civilization older and wiser than his own. Elias began with simple lessons. He drew shapes and patterns in the air, showing Curran how humans create tools, solve problems, and share knowledge. He told stories of Earth, stories of people helping each other, of inventions, of learning from mistakes. Curran listened intently, humming softly, repeating ideas with its own gestures and sounds. Each day, the child grew more confident, blending Elias' teachings with its natural abilities. One morning, Elias led Curran to a small terrace overlooking the forest. "Today," he said, "we try something new. We will imagine a solution to a problem together." Curran tilted its head, its large eyes glowing with anticipation. Elias drew a simple puzzle in the soil with a stick, shapes that had to fit together in a certain way. "Humans sometimes solve problems by looking at them differently," he explained. "We try, fail, and try again. Let's see what happens if we work together." Curran tapped at the shapes with its small hands, humming and moving pieces with care. Elias suggested ideas, showing how slight changes could lead to new possibilities. Slowly, step by step, the puzzle came together. When it was complete, Curran's glow brightened and it hummed a triumphant melody. Elias smiled, feeling a quiet pride. "This is how humans think," he said softly. "Curious, patient, creative, and now you are learning it too." The Queen, observing from her chambers, noted the progress with satisfaction. Curran's growth was remarkable, and Elias' guidance was proving invaluable. He was teaching more than knowledge. He was teaching understanding, patience, and the importance of trying, failing, and learning again. In the following days, Elias expanded the lessons. He showed Curran music from Earth, simple melodies that conveyed emotions without words. Curran responded by creating its own music, humming harmonies that were entirely alien but perfectly in tune with the human notes. Together, they created a new kind of music, a bridge between worlds, combining Earth's patterns with Eldara Prime's natural rhythms. Elias realized something profound. Teaching Curran was also teaching himself. He was learning to see the world through alien eyes, to understand the beauty of differences, and to value the ways a civilization could flourish without relying on force or dominance. Humanity's greatest qualities, curiosity, creativity, and empathy, were becoming tools of inspiration. One evening, the queen summoned Elias to a private chamber. The walls shimmered with images of Curran's world and earth, blending together in soft, moving patterns. "Elias," she said, her voice calm yet full of authority, "your lessons with Curran are not just helping the child. They are teaching our people to see the universe in new ways. Your presence here has already begun to shape our civilization's future." Elias bowed respectfully. "I am honored, Your Majesty. I never imagined my care for Curran could mean so much." The queen's eyes softened. "You understand now why I could not allow you to leave, not because I seek to control you, but because your role is vital. Curran's potential and the future of our people are intertwined with what you bring from your world. Humanity's wisdom is not in strength or power. It is in the ability to think, care, and create." Elias felt a deep warmth in his chest. He had always believed in the value of human qualities, but now, in the glow of this alien palace, he understood their universal significance. By protecting Curran, by teaching, and by sharing, he had become a symbol of hope and possibility. Days turned into weeks, and Elias and Curran's bond grew stronger. The child experimented with new ways of learning, blending human creativity with Eldara Prime's natural abilities. Together, they solved problems that had puzzled the palace for years, discovered new patterns in the forest, and created small inventions that enhanced daily life. Each success brought joy, confidence, and a deeper understanding between them. One afternoon, Elias noticed Curran pausing by a small pond that reflected the glowing sky. The child traced patterns in the water with its hands, creating shapes that shimmered with light. Elias knelt beside Curran. "What are you imagining?" he asked softly. Curran hummed and gestured toward the shapes. Elias realized the child was designing a bridge, an imaginative structure that could help connect parts of the palace without altering its natural flow. "That's incredible," he said. "You're thinking creatively, using what you've learned and what you feel from this world." Curran looked up, glowing brighter, and hummed a melody full of pride. Elias smiled. "This is what we can do together. We combine our knowledge, our creativity, and our care for the world, and the result is something extraordinary." The queen observed these interactions with quiet satisfaction. She had expected much from Elias, but he had surpassed every expectation. He was not only protecting Curran, he was inspiring innovation, connection, and hope. Humanity's values were leaving an imprint on Eldara Prime that could last for generations. As the weeks passed, Elias also found moments of quiet reflection. Standing on terraces at night, watching the stars, he thought about Earth and the human world he had left behind. He missed it, of course, but he understood something essential. The human heart, mind, and spirit could shine anywhere. And here, on this distant planet, they were making a difference that words could scarcely describe. One night, as he and Curran watched the glowing forest, the child hummed softly, leaning into his side. Elias held Curran's small hand, feeling the steady pulse of life and trust. "You've grown so much," he said, "and together we're learning even more." Curran hummed in response, a melody full of warmth and encouragement. Elias smiled, feeling a quiet sense of completion. He had started this journey to protect, and now he was shaping, guiding, and inspiring. The lessons they shared were not just for Curran, they were lessons for an entire civilization, lessons in empathy, creativity, and courage. The queen appeared quietly, her presence graceful and calm. She observed Elias and Curran for a moment before speaking. "You have fulfilled your role beyond my expectations, and yet your journey is only beginning. Continue to teach, guide, and learn. Humanity's qualities are rare and precious. You have shown that even in worlds far from your own, they can shine brightly." Elias nodded, understanding the weight and the honor of her words. "I will continue, Your Majesty. Curran and I will face every challenge together." The queen smiled faintly. "Good. Remember, the greatest lessons are not taught by power or fear, but by patience, understanding, and the courage to care. You have shown that clearly." As the queen departed, Elias turned to Curran. The child hummed softly, almost as if speaking without words. Elias smiled and hugged Curran gently. "We have done something remarkable," he said, "and there is so much more ahead." Curran's eyes glimmered with light, full of trust, curiosity, and excitement. Together, they looked toward the horizon, imagining the future. a future where understanding, creativity, and care could shape the world. Elias realized then that humanity's finest qualities were not confined to Earth. They could inspire, connect, and guide even the most distant civilizations. And in that quiet moment with the stars of Eldara Prime shining above, Elias understood the truth of his journey. He had protected a child, yes, but in doing so he had protected hope, imagination, and the very potential for connection between worlds. The forest hummed below, the palace shimmered with light, and Elias and Curran stood together, ready to face the days to come. Humanity's qualities, curiosity, empathy, and courage, were alive here, and they would continue to grow, guiding not just Curran, but an entire civilization into a brighter future. And so, on Eldara Prime, a new chapter began. A chapter where human heart and mind, joined with alien wisdom and wonder, would shine together, proving that understanding, care, and creativity are the true powers that can change the universe.